Hello and welcome to the Absolute Beginner Guitar Lesson Series. My name is Oliver and today's lesson is lesson number 15. And before I go any further, I would like to do as I always do, and that is to invite anyone who is watching one of these videos for the first time to go back and watch the previous videos. The lesson series is set up to basically start you out at the ground level and and every lesson builds on information that we've learned in the previous lessons. So it's very helpful. So there's a lot of material there that I think you could benefit from. So I would definitely invite anyone to go back and watch this lesson. And also, I haven't mentioned this in my previous videos, but I don't know whether anyone is watching these videos and has decided that they want to follow the series. But if you watch these videos and you like them, please click the like button. And if if you think you want to follow it, please hit the subscribe button. I'm under no illusions of getting a whole bunch of followers or building a large channel. There's no, I'm not in this to try to make money or to get any kind of notoriety. I'm doing this with the kindness of my heart. And, in order for me to keep going, I only need really to have one person that I know is going to follow the lessons, and maybe that a few other people have benefited from the lessons. That way I feel like my work's not in vain. And it sort of motivates me, it gratifies me, and it makes me want to keep doing this. So that's out of the way. I hope you have your guitar out, tuned up to standard pitch. And I also hope that you have a notebook, binder, or at the very minimum, a piece of paper and something to write with, just in case you want to take notes. And also, we're going to actually need to write some things down. So you definitely want to make sure you have that. And when you watch these lessons, if you have stuff that you've written down relating to previous lessons, study material as I like to call it, I would like you to have all that stuff ready every time you watch one of these lessons. Sort of good habit to get into. And if you need to refer back to something that was, covered in an earlier lesson, you have your material handy so you can go back to it. So let's get into the lesson. The subject of today's lesson is notes on the G string. And this is the first of a series of lessons that are going to be centered around the notes on the G string. And I know in the last lesson I said that when I came back, I was going to take a look at chord voicing. And I was going to do that, but I thought to myself, wait, let's present this information. Let's work through this little series of lessons so that when we start to discuss chord voicing, we have more material that we can work with. That's the only reason I did that. And when I do that video, it's probably going to be a couple of videos. But anyway, let's get into the lesson. And as the name implies, we're simply going to be learning to locate and identify notes on the G string. And in keeping with the method that we've been using, we're not going to identify all the notes on the G string. We're going to identify notes that are in the C major scale. We've been working with the C major scale from the beginning of the series. And by now, that should be familiar territory. I actually hope that some of you who've been watching these lessons and maybe put a little study time in, have that scale memorized by now. But even if you don't, that's fine. And even if you've not seen one of these lessons, that's fine. So the first thing I need you to do is I need you to get out a piece of paper. And I want you to write at the top of it, notes on the G string. And I want you to sort of put the information on the paper sort of in a list order. So starting at the top and working our way down, not going across the page. The idea is to sort of have a list working down the page. So now that we have our piece of paper labeled notes on the G string, let's get into it. And the first note I want to discuss is the G note. Now, I've discussed the G string many times in the past, but for anybody who may not be aware and maybe just jumping into one of these lessons, the G string is the third string of the guitar. And the strings are numbered starting with the thinnest string, which is the E string. And the second string is next to that, that's the B string. And the third string is the G string. So we're going to be working with this string. So the first note we want to look at is the G note. And the G note is the open string note, assuming you have your guitar tuned to standard pitch or concert pitch. So we have the G note, which is played at the open string. So that's the first thing I want you to write on your paper. In a fairly large capital letter, I want you to write G. And then I want you to write equals open string. So we're going to be using notes of the C major scale. So from here, we're just going to sort of pick up the scale at the note G and continue. So the next note of the scale is A. We're at G, which is the open string. And we need to find the note A. Well, our knowledge of music theory tells us that the note A is one step above the note G, or 2 frets higher on the same string. So from this open G, we're going to go up to the 2nd fret, and we have the A note. So that's the next thing I want you to write. A equals 2nd fret. Now, in terms of what fingers to use when you play this note and the rest of these notes, it's sort of optional. In the future, there may be times when you're going to want to play this note with the index finger, and there's going to be times when you want to play it with your middle finger, and there's going to be times when you're going to want to play it with your ring finger. So for this A note, I want you to just sort of keep this in mind, and when you practice, switch it up a little between the index finger, the middle finger, and the ring finger. So that's A. So we're at A, which is on the 2nd fret of the G string. Well, the next note of the scale is B. So we're at A at the 2nd fret. Our knowledge of theory tells us we need to move up a whole step to the B note. So that means we need to move up from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, and we have the note B. Now, as we move further up the guitar, I should have said this before because I don't want to confuse things when I talked about using different fingers. For the A note, I want you to practice that with the index finger, the middle finger, and the ring finger. For the rest of these notes, I want you to practice them with all 4 fingers, because there's going to be times when you may use any of your fingers to finger that particular note. So we have the B, which is at the 4th fret. So B equals 4th fret. The next note of the scale is C. And our knowledge of music theory tells us that from B, which is where we are, to C, which is where we want to go, is a half step, or 1 fret higher on the same string. So I'm just going to slide my finger up from the 4th fret B up to the 5th fret C. And that's where we have our C note. And I want you to write down C equals 5th fret. Moving along, the next note of the scale is the D note. So we're at C, which is at the 5th fret on the G string. We need to move up to D. And we should know by now that from C to D is a whole step. And we need to move up 2 frets. So we're going to move up from this note at the 5th fret on the G string up to the note at the 7th fret on the G string. And we have the note D. So that's the next thing we want to write down. D equals 7th fret. The next note of the scale is E. We're currently at D at the 7th fret of the G string. We need to go up to E, so we need to move up a whole step, or 2 frets. So we're going to move up from the 7th fret at the D up to the 9th fret, and we have the E note. So I want you to write down E equals 9th fret. The next note of the scale is F. We're currently at the note E, and from E to F is a half step, or 1 fret away on the guitar. So we need to move up from this E to the F note. So we need to move up 1 fret from the 9th fret to the 10th fret, and we have F. So F equals 10th fret. So we're currently at the F note. The next note of the scale is G. Well, we know that from F to G is a whole step. So we just need to move from this D note at the 10th fret on the G string up to the, we're at the F note on the 10th fret of the G string. We need to move up 2 frets to the 12th fret, and we have the G note, which is the octave to the open string note, which I mentioned, I think it was in lesson number 4, that the note at the 12th fret is the octave to the open note. So we're at the G on the 12th fret of the G string. And I just want to go a little bit further, and I want to finish this up with A. So we're at the 12th fret G, we need to go to A. So we need to move up a whole step. So we're going to move up from the 12th fret up to the 14th fret, and we have A. So A equals 14th fret. This is the basic fundamental information of the lesson. And once we have this information, we want to find ways to exercise our mind around this information so that we can work with it and turn it into knowledge. And I've discussed various techniques in the past videos, but again, for anyone who's just watching one of these for the first time, the easiest way that we can practice this is get out our piece of paper and start at the top. And we'll start with the open G string. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we recognize the open string. We want to see that with our eyes and recognize that note. And we want to make sure we look to our right hand to make sure we're in position to play on the G string. So once we're sure of all that, we play the G note, and then we say it out loud. G, open string. And as we proceed, I want you to do it the same exact way. And I want you to always identify your note with your eyes first. Place your finger wherever you need it to be on the string, and make sure you're comfortable and you feel you can get a good note. And then turn your attention to your right hand to make sure you're ready to play the G string. And as you play the G string, I want you to name the note as you play it and the location. And just work down the page just like what we just did, taking your time. There's no need to go fast here. There's nothing impressive about being able to go through these notes fast. We're not going to play music like this. The idea here is to learn where the notes are and how to locate them and identify them. We need to have that ability to do it. And we need to develop the ability to do it somewhat quickly when we're playing music. So we have to practice and we have to reinforce. So in addition to starting with the open G and working our way up to that A note at the 14th fret, I want you to then start at the bottom of the page with the A note at the 14th fret. And I want you to work your way back in descending order with the notes getting lower until we come to the open G string. And this requires our mind to sort of think in the opposite direction. If we start at the A on the 14th fret of the G string and we need to go to the G note, we need to think, okay, we're at A. I need to go to G. I need to go down a whole step. This is the mental process that I want you to think of when you're doing this. And it's important to be able to be as equally proficient at doing this in descending order as it is in ascending order. So that's the next level of practice, is again just to reverse the order of the exercise. And once we've done that a few times and we feel comfortable starting with the open G and moving up to the A at the 14th fret and then doing it in reverse. We want to, as I like to talk about when I discuss these methods, we want to change our point of reference. And the easiest way to do that is to not start with either the open G or with the A note at the 14th fret. We want to pick a note that's in the middle. Now we want to make sure we pick a note that's in our scale, but we want to just pick whatever note you want that's in the middle. So I may decide that I want to start out on the note C. So now the challenge is I have to find the C root note. And I can find that note at the 5th fret on the G string. But if you don't know how to find it, you can use your paper, but we don't want to get into the habit of using the paper to do the exercise because you're going to be dependent upon the paper. At some point, you want to try to do this on your own. And if you go to do it on your own and you're not sure where a note is, the simplest way to find the note and be sure is to start with the open string. So I would start with the open string, G, and then, the G. And then what I would do is I would find the A note at the 2nd fret, work my way up from that A note to the B note at the 4th fret, and then work my way up from that B note to the C note. So now I've found the note that I want to start with. And from there, I may decide that I want to go up to this A note at the 14th fret. Or maybe go down from the C note down to the open G. This is the next level of challenge. And what I want you to do is I want you to challenge your mind to find additional ways to work with this material. It's really easy. I can just, for example, say, okay, I'm going to start at the note A, and I'm going to work my way up to the A at the 14th fret. Or, maybe I'm going to start at the note F and work my way down to the C. The idea being we want to keep challenging our mind to start in different places with different goals, either playing ascending to a note or descending to a note. And then maybe combining the two, starting at a point and moving up to another point, and then down to maybe a completely different spot from where we started. The whole purpose of this is so that we can begin to recognize these notes, because we ultimately need to be able to locate these notes quickly if we're going to be able to use this information when we're playing. And the only way we can really get good at that is to put some time in and to sort of practice, and not mindlessly practice. Put focus into it and go slow, and understand that even though we're playing something slow that's simple, we want to try to get good sound. You always want to try to get good sound. And a lot of the time at this stage, you're not going to get good sound. Your notes might not sound quite the way that you want them to. That's because you really have to figure out how to lay your hands on these notes, kind of the right amount of pressure to put on the notes. And also, you should never be pressing hard on a note when you play. You only want to press as hard as you need to press to get a good sound. And that's sort of what the trick is, to sort of figure out what the right amount of pressure is to get a good sound. And that changes depending on where you are on the fretboard. If you're down close to the 1st fret, somewhere down near the nut, there's more tension. So it's a different feeling when you press on the strings. And as you move your way up towards, let's say, the 12th fret, there's a lot less tension. So there's a different feeling when you go to press on the string. And it's not a question of, thinking about specifically how to do it. It's a question of experience and your body figuring out how to get the note to sound good. And that only comes through practice. And we're at the very beginning stages. So, we have to look at our musical journey as one that's going to, what I would really love is to just have one person discover music and decide that they want their musical journey to last their lifetime. So there's no hurry. It's not about getting good as fast as we can. Yes, we want to get good because we have goals. Maybe we want to get into a band. Maybe we want to be able to perform for other people. And we know we need to get to a certain level of playing ability. But we cannot rush the process. We can work diligently towards it. But you're not just going to will your way to getting really good really quick. It's all a matter of your personal talent level for this. Some people, this stuff will come easier to than others. But just because it may not come easy to you, don't use that as an excuse to write yourself off as not being able to do something. That's the worst mistake that beginners make. They realize that it's not easy to do what I want to be able to do with this instrument. And I put some time and work in, and I'm not getting the results that I want. So therefore, I'm not going to do it. And you know what? I'm not going to condemn anyone for doing that. That's a person's choice, and that's fine what you do with your time and your energy. But I do want to tell you that some people end up writing themselves off and not giving themselves enough time. Because when you listen to a great musician, they've put many, many hours in over many years. And the reason that they're probably considered a great musician is because they have a special talent. And even with that special talent, they had to work really hard. And I believe that greatness is where talent meets hard work. And, you know, it's not about becoming great. It's about becoming the best that you can become. So the best way to do that is to use your time wisely and not make the foolish mistake that players make. And that is to try to do things fast. That's foolish. Moving too fast causes us to make mistakes, and then we build habits when we make these mistakes over and over again. Not to mention, we may impress ourselves with our speed, but we don't really sound good at all because we haven't developed technique. And we need to play slowly in order so that your body can figure it out, and you can work through the mental process and the physical process. And over time, those become in sync, and these movements become more natural to you. So I know I kind of rambled on a little bit there. You know, that's my approach. I do like to talk about things. And it's not because I want to hear my own voice. It's because I want to sort of inspire you to think about stuff. And it really helps to contemplate on certain things and try to think about what it is that we're trying to accomplish and where we're going. And so we're making progress, and I need you to put some time in on this material and learn these notes. And we're going to do this series the same way we did the series on the notes on the B string and the notes on the E string. When we come back for the next lesson, we're going to start taking our knowledge of these notes on the G string, and we're going to start learning how to play major chords. So put in your time, put in your work, and I hope to see you there. Peace.